I, 28 female, was 14 when my mom passed away after a long battle with cancer. It was a devastating time for me and my dad, now 56 male. My dad was my rock back then, and for a while, it was just the two of us trying to navigate life without my mom. He was always a loving father, and we were incredibly close. However, about a year after my mom's passing, my dad met Julia, now 49 female. At first, I was happy for him. He deserved to be happy, and Julia seemed nice enough. They got married when I was 16, and that's when things started to change. Julia was nice to me in front of my dad, but when he wasn't around, she would make snide remarks or criticize me for things that seemed insignificant. If I left a dish in the sink, she would complain about how I was so messy. If I got home late from hanging out with friends, she would scold me for disrespecting her rules. Still, I tried to get along with her for my dad's sake. I never said anything bad about her to him because I didn't want to upset him. But things started to escalate when Julia started receiving expensive gifts from my dad. He's always been generous, but with Julia, it's different. He would buy her designer clothes, expensive handbags, and luxury shoes. I didn't think much of it at first. If it made him happy, that was all that mattered. However, when I turned 21, things took a turn. I was away at college, and during a break, I came home to find that Julia was in an absolute rage. She was screaming and crying, accusing me of ruining her clothes, bags, and shoes. She claimed that I had somehow sneaked into her closet and deliberately spilled bleach on her expensive dresses, cut up her designer bags, and scuffed her luxury shoes. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea what she was talking about. I hadn't even been home. My dad was furious. He had always been a bit gullible when it came to Julia, and she had him wrapped around her finger. He immediately believed her and demanded to know why I would do such a thing. I tried to explain that I had nothing to do with it, that I wasn't even in town when it supposedly happened. But Julia had somehow found evidence. A bottle of bleach and scissors in my room, and a receipt for cleaning supplies I had supposedly purchased. I was dumbfounded. I didn't know how she had done it, but it was clear to me that Julia had set me up. I tried to explain this to my dad, but he wasn't having it. He said that Julia wouldn't lie about something like this, and that I needed to own up to what I had done. I was in tears, pleading with him to believe me, but it was no use. Julia had already poisoned his mind against me. Things got worse from there. Julia convinced my dad that I was an evil and malicious person. She told him that I was jealous of their relationship and that I was trying to sabotage their marriage. My dad, who was so in love with Julia and desperate to keep the peace, believed her. She was telling him that he needs to punish me, so I understand that actions have consequences. She demanded he make me pay for it, and that he should take me out of his will so I understand the value of money by working and earning it. So my father decided to disinherit me. I was shocked. All my life, my dad had promised that he would always take care of me, that I would have a secure future. But now, because of Julia's lies, he was cutting me off. I tried to talk to him, to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. He said he was disappointed in me and that he needed to do what was best for his marriage. I was devastated. I felt like I had lost both my parents now, my mom to cancer and my dad to Julia's manipulation. Over the next few years, my relationship with my dad deteriorated. I rarely went home anymore. Whenever I did, Julia would find some way to stir up drama. She would make passive-aggressive comments about how I wasn't contributing to the household or how I was freeloading off my dad. She even convinced him that I was trying to steal from them when a few of her earrings went missing, which she later found in my old room. I was a full-time college student with a part-time job, barely making ends meet. I didn't have the time, energy, or resources to fight this constant battle with Julia. Eventually, I decided to cut ties and focus on my studies. I graduated with honors and found a job in my field. I built a life for myself, all without my dad's support. Fast forward to 7 years later. I hadn't spoken to my dad in over a year, and out of the blue, I got a call from him. He asked if we could meet up, saying he had something important to discuss. I was hesitant, but part of me still missed him and hoped that maybe, just maybe, he had come to his senses. We met at a local cafe, and I was shocked when I saw him. He looked like he had aged 10 years. He had bags under his eyes, and his usually neat hair was unkempt. He seemed nervous, fidgeting with his hands as he sat down across from me. After an awkward silence, he finally spoke. He apologized. He said he was sorry for everything, for not believing me, for cutting me off, and for letting Julia manipulate him. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I asked him what had changed, and that's when he told me everything. Apparently, Julia had been caught having an affair with one of her friends, a man she had claimed was just a coworker. My dad had walked in on them in bed together. In the aftermath, Julia's lover told my dad everything, including how she had set me up all those years ago to make it look like I had ruined her things. He told that she had done it because she didn't want me to have any part of my dad's inheritance. She wanted it all for herself and her lover. She even bragged about how easy it was to manipulate my dad because of how much he loved her. My dad was devastated. He realized too late that he had been played and that he had lost his daughter in the process. He begged me to forgive him, saying he wanted to make things right. He even offered to rewrite his will to include me again and to give me a significant portion of his estate now to make up for everything. I didn't know what to feel. On one hand, I was glad he finally saw the truth and was apologizing. But on the other hand, I was angry. Angry that it had taken him this long to see what was right in front of him. Angry that he had let this woman ruin our relationship. And angry that he had disinherited me so easily without giving me a chance to defend myself. I told him I needed time to think. I didn't want to make any decisions while I was still processing everything. He looked heartbroken, but he said he understood. Since then, he's been trying to call and text me every day, but I haven't responded. I'm torn between wanting to rebuild our relationship and feeling like I can never fully trust him again. Part of me wants to forgive him, but another part of me feels like it's too little too late. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for not immediately forgiving my dad after he disinherited me based on my stepmother's lies? Should I try to rebuild our relationship, or is it too late? Not the a-hole. Your dad screwed up big time, and while it's good that he finally sees the truth, it doesn't erase the years of pain he caused you. You have every right to take your time to decide if you want to let him back into your life. Trust is hard to rebuild, especially after such a betrayal. Do what feels right for you. I'm so sorry you went through this. Not the a-hole at all. It's awful that your stepmother manipulated your dad like that, but he also should have known better than to disinherit his own daughter without concrete proof. I think you should take as much time as you need to heal. Rebuilding a relationship is possible, but it should be on your terms. Not the a-hole. Your dad is only reaching out now because he finally realized he was wrong. But that doesn't mean you owe him forgiveness right away, or ever. It's okay to set boundaries and protect yourself. He needs to understand the full impact of his actions on your life, and you deserve to feel safe and respected in whatever decision you make. Sister is 31, and I'm 28 female. We both live at home with our mom. I've always been the saver of the family, and everyone else is terrible with money, including my sister. She's the type to have the best of everything, but it's all on credit. 2 big holidays per year, nice car on finance, etc. I haven't been on holiday for 4 years, and I have a crappy 11-year-old car because I'd prefer to save as much as possible, because I want to eventually buy my own place with my boyfriend of 6 years, and don't want to waste money renting. Anyway, sister is the type to be a serial dater, but with this new guy, she's convinced they'll be married within 12 months, and he's also said the same. I kid you not, they've been on 1 date and only started talking on Christmas Day, but, whatever. So anyway, she sits the family down today, tells us about this guy, he's rich apparently, and then tells us to keep in mind that she will be married within the year. My first thought is, duck yes. We've had a tumultuous relationship and are currently in the civil stage, but I'd love if she moved out, because it does cause a lot of tension when we're not in a good place. Also, I am genuinely happy that she seems to have found someone nice. Not to mention, she may stop being a bee and making passive-aggressive jibes about my relationship if she's happily married. So she tells us about the big house they're going to buy and the small but nice wedding they're going to have. So I ask, knowing she only has a few grand in savings, if he will be paying for it all. She did say he was rich. And she says no, they'll go halves. And then she talks about how it's tradition that the bride's family pay, so she'd feel embarrassed not contributing. My next question is how she's going to pay. And she says she'll need £5,000 each from me, my mom, single parent, and my granddad. She also adds she won't be contributing anything herself because what she saves from now to the wedding will go towards her getting veneers on her teeth. So my mom immediately says that's fine. She'll give her portion, and so will Granddad, and I say nothing. So then my sister starts talking about wedding guests and then leaves. I didn't know what to say. I have 5,000 pounds. She knows I have that, so I didn't know what to say. I know it's going to cause a huge argument if I say I'm not contributing, and I feel like it would 100% taint the wedding. Like, if I say no, will I look back with regret in a few years and wish I'd just given in? I think if it was anyone else, I wouldn't care as much. In fact, if it was my younger sister, I would willingly contribute. But the reason why it's pissing me off so much is because I feel like most of the conflict I've had with my older sister is because she's very materialistic, and she always looks down on me and my boyfriend because we don't have the best of everything. So I don't feel like giving her my hard-earned savings to fund her materialistic crap. I know it sounds easy to say, but it gives me so much anxiety when we're fighting. She's vicious and also very sly, so we'll always say things to my mom to try to get her to gang up on me. Also, we're both WFH, so I just feel like I'll be stuck in this house for a year with conflict, and that makes me feel sick. Not to mention, I know she'd try to exclude me from wedding stuff, to which would feel crappy. Does anyone have any ideas on how I can get off this? Or should I just give it and suck it up? Sorry if it wasn't typed properly. I'm just angry and feel really anxious about this whole thing. Plus, I'm not good with confrontation, and she is very confrontational. Edit. Sorry, I just wanted to add this to explain why I'm so anxious. Basically, last year my dog had very expensive surgery, and she said she had no money to contribute, even though he's the family dog. Long story short, I had to pay over $3,000 alone, and the next month, she got 800-pound hair extensions and designer sunglasses that would have easily covered her half. It caused a huge fight that continued for 3 months, and she made my life such a misery. That's why I'm so anxious. I literally cried daily during that time because she caused so much crap within the family and was brutal to me. This sounds like a scam more than anything. You don't owe her anything, and paying her likely won't keep the peace. Like a blackmailer, she can always come back for more. Don't give in. If she wants to marry him, she can learn how to save. You can contribute by offering to tell her how she can manage her finances, but don't give her a penny. Simply put, there is absolutely no existing tradition for a bride's sister to pay for anything. You have no reason to pay for it, and you aren't going to. End of discussion. When she tries to bring up other stuff, you simply restate that there is no logical reason for you to pay for her wedding. Could you ask her if she'll be contributing the same amount towards your wedding, when it happens? If she's banking on tradition, she needs to know that the tradition isn't going to change much over the next few years. Surely she'd be expected to be just as generous when your time rolls around. I told my sister this morning that I wasn't going to be contributing to the wedding. She asked why, and I said I had plans for myself with that money, and giving it to her would impact my future. Initially, she seemed okay with this, but then said it wasn't fair that everyone else got money from their parents for their wedding, and she didn't. I said, first of all, some parents do help, but that's parents, not siblings. I then said she knew from the start what my mom's financial situation was, and she knew she wanted an expensive wedding, so asked why she didn't bother saving or preparing for this. She didn't have a response to this. I also brought up her age and said she's 31 and barely has any savings, so she should be more responsible. It did become a bit of an argument at that point, but I was firm about not contributing. She seems to have cooled down, but I don't know if it will affect other things in the future. I don't know if she will exclude me from wedding preparations, but I've decided that I don't care. I think she probably will keep bringing it up and will intentionally make things awkward in front of others. But if she does, I will bring up the fact that she expected me, the younger sister, to pay for her wedding. I think that should shut her up, since it's obviously not normal to expect this, and will probably embarrass her. My cousin has always wanted to be a model. When she was 21, she started her modeling career by booking some modeling gigs, boutiques where there were pictures of her wearing the products, things like that. Never went outside local. When she was 23, she got pregnant, had a kid, and she insists that no one will hire her because of this. My boyfriend is a photographer, and he asked me and a few friends to help him take some pictures for his coursework and to add to his portfolio. Boyfriend did ask cousin for help with the portfolio work originally, but when she found out it was unpaid, she said something about how she might be busy and never turned up with no explanation, before or after. A couple of the photos got put up in a gallery. The owner of a local shop saw the photos and asked boyfriend to do a professional shoot. It's not a chain, just a local clothing boutique on the high street. On the day of the shoot, boyfriend calls us. Half the models didn't show up, and the owner and marketing person asked if he knew anyone who was local and had done modeling before. He said that the people in his portfolio are local, and they looked through it again and said to call us. So me and a friend of his went over there. We were in and out in a couple hours, and they gave me and the friend what they were going to give the models who didn't show. So I've now been paid for modeling. I have no modeling aspirations whatsoever, and they said on the day of the shoot that they probably wouldn't use all the photos, so I just didn't bother telling anyone. Then the boutique put out their fall collection, and the pictures with it. I got an angry call from cousin, saying she'd seen the photos and she couldn't believe I'd do that to her. She said I knew modeling was her dream, that she'd had the dream taken away from her, and now I was rubbing it in her face by posing for the same boutique she had a couple years ago. I didn't even realize it was the same boutique, and said I only did it to help out boyfriend and had no modeling-based aspirations career-wise. She said that that was even worse, as I didn't care as much about it as she did. Cousin said that I should have told boyfriend to call her instead. Boyfriend said he would have used cousin for his shoot, but she'd stood him up that other time, and the issue was people not turning up. If she'd had turned up to the portfolio shoot, then her picture would have been in there. She'd have proven herself reliable, and she'd have booked this paid job. I told her all of this over the phone. I assume after that she got the rest of the family involved, as I've had my brother message me saying it was a jerk move, and my mom ringing, saying that my aunt has just given her an earful down the phone and I should apologize to cousin. The only people on my side are boyfriend and our friends. It's been a full day. I'm at my actual workplace where I earn a steady income and want to continue in this line of work. My phone, which I meant to be making work calls on, is blowing up with calls, texts from cousin, brother, mother, auntie, other cousins, other aunts, uncles, all saying some form of, "How could you do that to cousin?" I asked brother what he actually thinks I did, and he says that cousin said that I stole the job out from under her and has told our whole family that I stole a paid modeling job meant for her and essentially backstabbed her. Brother says he knows my version of events is the true one, but the rest of the family believes her over me, and it would be easier on everyone for me to just suck it up and say sorry. I have my whole family, including brother, telling me to apologize. I have no interest in apologizing for something that isn't my fault. If she was willing to take one photo for boyfriend months ago, then she would have got this job. And the only reason she bailed is that it was unpaid. I even offered to watch my nephew while she took the photos so she wouldn't have to sort out childcare. This isn't the sort of thing I can just ignore or wait for it to blow over. Cousin will whine about this until her dying day, and while my grandparents love us all equally, if she gets to them before I do, then they will take her side. I need to spread the truth throughout my family in a way that doesn't make it seem like I'm the liar, or I'm only doing this to contradict cousin. I'd really appreciate some advice. Complain to everyone about how if she'd been willing to take photos for your boyfriend, you wouldn't have had to do this modeling job you didn't want to do. Your cousin thinks she's entitled to all modeling jobs everywhere. Some real mental health issues.